Miss Johnson here, ready to give you an awesome math lesson. So we have already talked about equal parts, halves, a little bit of fourths. Today we're just gonna focus on halves. So before we even touch on halves, let's just refresh our memory, bring up our awesome cookie example, and remind everyone that when a shape or anything is not cut into pieces, it is called a whole. This is a whole cookie. It's not broken up into pieces yet. It is a whole, and a whole can be broken up into equal parts. So what I'm going to do now is break my cookie in half before I devour it and eat it. So what I just did was broke my whole cookie into two equal parts. It is completely in half, so I have two halves. So that's what we're going to review today and go over different examples of equal parts and halves. Okay, now I can eat it. Okay, I'm done with my cookie. I swear I was like dying to eat it. All right, so let's get into halves. Right now, I have my whiteboard. I'm going to draw a circle. This is a whole circle. I'm now going to take my marker and draw a line to make it into two equal parts. And that's simple. I now made my whole circle into two equal parts. I did this by drawing a line straight through the middle. I decided to go down. You can again draw this any direction and I will show examples of that. But this line gave me two equal parts and it also gave me two halves. So I have two pieces that are completely cut in half from a whole circle. So I have two halves. And I can also say I have two equal parts. So this circle gave me two halves and two equal parts. Sorry, I'm still learning my camera. Yes, another example. I'm going to draw a square this time. I'm going to cut it in half this way. So I again, instead of cutting it straight up and down, I cut it across. I have two halves that are two equal parts. So again, here's a half and here's a half. So I have two halves. I'm going to use my circle example again, but this time I'm going to cut it at a diagonal. I have two halves, or you can say two equal parts. Simple, huh? All right, so now we're gonna do like a little game. I'm going to draw two different ways. You have to decide whether number one is two halves or two equal parts, or number two is two halves or two equal parts. And yes, I will say the answers now within this video. All right, so this side will be number one, this side will be number two. I'm gonna draw a circle over here and I'll do a square over here. Which one shows two equal parts, that is two halves? Is it number one or is it number two? They both have two parts. If you said number one, you're right. Okay, next one. Let's use some triangles this time. Which one has two equal parts? Is it number two or number one? Again, they both have two parts. I cut them both in some type of way, but only one has two halves because it's cut in half and it's equal parts. If you said number two, You're right. It's number 2. As you can see, I cut straight down the middle. Both sides are the same amount. So if I wanted to share this with somebody, they'd both have the same amount. This one I cut across. This is a little bit bigger than this part. So that is why it does not work. One more example. I think I'm going to draw a heart this time. No. And let's do a circle on this side. Okay. Which one shows 2 equal parts that is cut into 2 halves? Again, both of them have 2 parts, but which one is equal and which one is 2 halves? Number 1 or number 2? Number 1. Hope you guys are getting these right. So yes, let's refresh our brain. This shape is a whole circle. The reason why we know it's a whole is because it doesn't have any pieces. It's not cut into anything. When I draw a line down the middle in some direction, I now have 2 halves, and they are 2 equal parts. For today, you will be completing a Google form on equal parts using halves. A lot of these same questions will be coming up. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Hope you learned about halves and you understand what I'm saying. Continue to use the terms halves and equal parts. So anytime you hear any of your teachers talk about it, you know what they mean. Bye, guys.